Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. So, in a funny sort of way, has the Angela Rayner stamp duty issue given Labour a very useful killer line to use against Nigel Farage? Because just at the point the polls are looking a little bit better for Labour, Nigel Farage now faces questions of his own about tax arrangements, and Labour have been asking a very interesting question this week. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So, bit of background here before we take a look at the question, which could be a tripwire for Nigel Farage. A couple of things. First, the latest polling from YouGov, who've been the most accurate general election pollsters for the last 3 elections now, has narrowed the gap between Labour and Reform UK by 4 points. Nothing to get too excited about. The polls have been up and down like a jack in a box, and Labour should not be behind Reform UK at all. But for Labour, they are currently up, and they would presumably like to use the completion of their Employment Rights Bill and Renters' Rights Bill to carry them into the conference and build up some positive momentum for a change. And that is important, by the way. As we learned from the Brexit referendum, you need both a negative message about your opponents, you can't ignore that, but also a positive message about yourself. People don't like voting against things, even though we often have to do just that. So Labour have gained in the polls and Reform lost. The Greens are also up as well after the mainstream media accidentally reminded the public of their existence last week. So this is not only a good time for Labour to push a positive message, but maybe knock Reform UK over the head as well. But all went wrong with the Rayner stamp duty thing, didn't it? Yes, very disappointing. But it also opened up a silver lining. Suddenly, the media were asking about Nigel Farage's own tax arrangements. Now, let's just focus in on stamp duty here. So Farage claimed he would live in Clacton if he won the election. He won the election, doesn't live in Clacton. He lied, but he was still going to buy a house, he said. He'd give the illusion of living in Clacton. So he buys a nice house and he tells the world. Only at his own party conference last weekend, he had to admit that he hadn't bought the house after all. His partner had bought it. Farage didn't own a single brick of the property, he said. He just uses it when visiting Clacton twice a year. So he admitted to misleading his supporters and constituents, and deliberately as well. Richard Tice was in the news this week saying, he misspoke. No, I didn't misspoke. Apart from anything else, that would be a ridiculous thing to say anyway. But Nigel Farage was very specific. He said he'd deceive people because he didn't want to bring his partner into it, like shine the public spotlight onto her, which is an absolute nonsense. Like, if you didn't want to do that, why get her to buy the house in the first place? Buy it yourself, you tight sod. But nonetheless, completely undermines what Tice was saying. Farage has given the reason why he deliberately misled people. But that's not the end of it. More questions. Why didn't he buy the house? Why did his partner buy it instead? Well, the simple answer is that Farage owns properties in Britain and presumably his partner doesn't, or didn't before the Clacton pad, so she could buy it and pay the lower rate of stamp duty. Okay, so it looks like a tax dodge then, yes. But legal. Can say it's morally dubious if you like, but morality is subjective, right? Only that doesn't clear it up. It doesn't explain why she bought the house. Like, why would you buy a very expensive house which you have no use for so that your multi-millionaire partner can pretend to live in it? Because remember, they're not living in Clacton. They're not even claiming to live in Clacton. So she's not living there. She's not using it at all. Especially as, and this is very interesting, I can't find any information which suggests that his partner, Laura Ferrari's net worth is anywhere near enough to just casually buy such an expensive house out of some pocket money for which you've got no personal use for. Remember, it's not like they're living there. It's purely a marketing con for Farage to pretend he's put down a route in his constituency. He says it's for him to use when he's in Clacton. It'd be cheaper for him to use a hotel. I know it's hard to be sure of someone's net worth because it's private, right? But no indication online suggests her own net worth is anywhere near enough to buy that house outright and have anything left in her bank account. It would at the very least use up all of her own personal wealth, which is much less than Farage's. So what are we to believe? That she got a mortgage? In which case, is the interest really worth the saving on stamp duty? Or did someone else give her the money to buy it? In which case, although the documentation will show that she bought the house and legally owns it, it was really bought by someone else in her name, wasn't it? And what if that someone else happened to be Nigel Farage? Labour have been asking questions which poke at the uncertainty this week. I'd like to see them ramp it up. And the beauty of it is, Farage won't be able to prove he's innocent without making his financial records public, which he's obviously not going to do. But consider that Farage is profiting at the moment only so much from disinformation on asylum. He's benefiting politically largely from a public who think the hegemony are both alike, and they find a third option appealing. But if Farage can be exposed as just as sleazy as any Tory, he loses a lot of that appeal. Like I say, Labour mustn't just push negativity and mistrust. They've got to loudly hail the benefits of their work in government, especially with these two really big bits of legislation passing into law very soon. But don't miss an opportunity to show how grubby Farage is. And this question about his Clacton house is valid. It's not just that it's a good one politically. It's a valid question. It doesn't make sense for his partner to have bought the house. She's not that wealthy. She has no personal use for the house, and it would skint her to buy it. Why would it make any sense for her to buy it? And there's no evidence she can afford it, at least not without sinking her entire fortune into it, and even then, maybe not. And why would she do that when Farage could have genuinely bought the house with his own wealth without going broke? Never mind whose signature is on the forms. Where did the money come from? The money that was used, in whose account was it a few months before they bought it? Ask the question. Ask it loudly and constantly. Never stop until there's a satisfactory answer. And you know what? There will never be a satisfactory answer from Farage, so keep asking. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.